Hey guys, welcome to the Ramsey Paul Show. It is Tuesday, October 14th. Thank you for being here. If you hadn't had the chance, check out my video. I did a live stream last night on the Spanish Civil War. I think it was interesting. It was a subject that was pretty new to me. I did some research and I had some people who actually live in Spain comment on it. And so check it out. I think it relates a lot to our situation today. And in general, if you like these streams, be sure to like and subscribe. I really do appreciate it. All right, I'm going to go over the news of the day and what I find is funny or interesting. And Trump, he just loves Israel. He loves the Jewish people, but he committed a canard. He committed a trope. Isn't that what the ADL always says? That's a canard. That's a trope. I'm like, but is it true? Well, maybe, but that doesn't matter. It's still a canard and trope. We can't have canards and trope. We got to throw people in prison if they do a canard and a trope. It's with anti-Semitism. And so I think Trump did an anti-Semitism. In fact, if he was in Britain, he'd probably go to prison because in Britain, there's many ways you could go to prison if you say things that the government doesn't like. I mean, you could call for the death of English people. That's okay. But any other group, you can't do that. And this is from Thomas Massey. Trump asked dual citizen Miriam Adelson, a billionaire, she's worth like $60 billion. Her husband was a big donor to the Republican Party. And I don't think he donated to the Republican Party because he cared about health care for Americans, or he cared about immigration, or he cared about the economy. He cared about one issue. And if you have a lot of money, you can influence a lot of people, right, Tom Cotton? Right, Tom Cotton? And you can be bought. Our politicians, they are like prostitutes. They can be bought. And I don't mean to offend prostitutes because at least with a prostitute, they give you something in return. Our politicians, they don't give us anything. Well, they screw us, but we don't get any pleasure out of it. So sometimes Trump went off script, which is kind of funny. I don't think he meant anything bad about this, but let's take a look at this. Here it is.
Miriam, stand up, please. She really is. I mean, she loves this country.
So he told this lady, this Jewish billionaire woman, to stand up. And he's got the Israeli flag behind him.
She loves this country. Her and her husband are so incredible. We miss him so dearly. But I actually asked her, I'm going to get her in trouble with this, but I actually asked
You're going to get yourself in trouble with this, Trump, not her. You're going to get yourself in trouble with this.
So once I said, so Miriam, I know you love Israel. What do you love more, the United States or Israel?
Oh, you can't ask that. That's the canard. That's the trope. Oh, obviously Jewish people love their host countries more than their ethnic nation. How could you suggest such a thing?
She refused to answer.
She refused to answer. Well, that's pretty telling.
That might mean Israel, I must say.
He's like, oh shit, I should have said that. I know I should have said that. I went too far. So I don't know. That's hilarious. I don't think Trump meant to do that because Trump loves Israel, the Jewish people. But sometimes, the truth slips out. It reminds me of the time Biden, before he was elected president, he was addressing a Jewish group. And he said, I really want to thank you guys because I'm a progressive like you are. And it's because of primarily due to the Jewish community. We have abortion rights. We have feminism. We have immigration and diversity. And meanwhile, in the background, they're going, shut up, Joe. Shut up. No, stop it. And he's like, what? These are good things. I'm giving them credit. And they're like, no, shut up. No, don't say that. But, Joe, he was naive. He said that, and they had to try to walk that back. It kind of reminds me of that. So I think Trump meant that I don't know what he was thinking, really. I don't think he thinks that sometimes deeply. It was just, Trump just found this as funny, right? It's just funny that she likes Israel more than America. I mean, we all know it. It's like Ben Shapiro. He once said that, hey, the reason I support America is because America supports Israel. I mean, whatever. I don't blame them. It's their ethnic homeland. I wish we had an ethnic homeland, but we can't because that would be racist. That'd be Nazism. But they can have an ethnic homeland, and we have an obligation to support it because God says so. God says so. That's why. So that was a little. Trump did a Canard. He did a trope. He did an anti-Semitism. Bad Trump. Bad Trump. We're going to have to give them billions more now because of their feelings. So that was the situation with Trump. That was I found that an interesting story. All right, the number 2 story broke today was Alex Jones, and let's just take a look at this. Supreme Court rejects Alex Jones' appeal of a $1.4 billion Sandy Hook judgment. And I'm not really surprised about this. It's not like I agree with the judgment. It was very political. It's ridiculous, but it's not really a Supreme Court issue. I didn't think that the Supreme Court would take that up. So it's just crazy though, because it is, you could say, like a free speech issue. He's an entertainer. He was giving his wacky theories that they were crisis actors. I don't believe that, but he's into the aliens and all that type of stuff. And supposedly it hurt their feelings, so they want $1.4 billion. It's really crazy. So in some ways, I guess I could see the Supreme Court bringing that up because of the First Amendment, but they refused to hear it. So Alex Jones lost on that. All right, now we're going to hear about a crime thing. And this is Cincinnati. They have a lot of crime. And I'm not going to say the demographic that does the crime. I think we all know the Irish. And so we have the police chief of Cincinnati, who's a woman, which I think there's a law in America. I really do think that every police chief has to either be a woman, usually a lesbian, or a Black. And it's just some sort of room there that has to be ruled. And let's take a look at this here.
And so my message to everybody, learn how to behave in our city.
This is after a shooting, right? This isn't like talking loud in the theater. She's talking to these criminals like they're little kids. And I know mentally they are, but still.
But especially learn how to behave in our downtown and our Fountain Square. And our officers will approach you if you start to behave disorderly on Fountain Square. Because these things sometimes start as a minor altercation and then evolve into something bigger. So do not come downtown, especially on Fountain Square, if you don't know how to behave.
Okay, mommy, we'll be good, especially on Fountain Square. I guess we can be bad on other squares, but sorry, mommy. So she's acting like she's a mommy type character. Just really cringe here, really cringe. But this is how these people think. They're I don't know why we have female police chiefs. It's sort of embarrassing, but there we are. All right. I mentioned Britain and their censorship. It was fun because I did the program about Spain. And when the Spanish government was basically the communist socialists, they did a lot of censorship too. It's really, really insane. And Joe Rogan talked a little bit about this. So let's just take a look at this here. Here we go.
Yeah, these motherfuckers are pushing digital ID on these people. And once they do digital ID, they're going to attach it to a social credit score. Yep. They're going to attach it to a carbon footprint score. And then they'll be able to control your movement and control you entirely. And most importantly, they've already arrested 12,000 people for social media posts.
12,000. That's higher than I think North Korea or China. Britain is a totalitarian state now.
That's insane.
Above and beyond every other country, way above Russia. Russia was like 400 last year. The UK is 12,000. Any criticism of immigration, any criticism of grooming gangs and people being raped, any talk about how horrible this is, they come visit you. It's like someone's trying to destroy England.
Who could that be?
It's literally like they've got a concerted effort to destroy England, and they're getting away with it.
Yeah. And what happens over there?
It's really crazy. It's really crazy to watch.
It is. And this is by design, and people are starting to notice. It is. They want to replace the people of England. They don't like the white English. They think they're racist and evil, and they don't want people to object to what's happening. So when you have these immigrants that come in and do crimes, they don't want you to complain about it because they fear give pushback. So their response is to arrest you. And this is sort of interesting, the whole woke narrative and how it's built up. Let me just show you an example. And this is true. This is, I guess, 27 years ago, we lost Matthew Shepard to a senseless act of hate. Help keep Matthew's memory alive. And so 27 years ago, this kind of kicked off like one of the big homosexual movements. The idea was Matthew was just a sensitive young gay man in Wyoming, and these stupid redneck cowboys that are intolerant and full of hate, they tied him up and beat him to death because he's gay. Well, yeah, that was the official story, and they ran with that, and they're still running with that, but it had nothing to do with that. What it was is Matthew was dealing meth, and one of his homosexual friends that was a meth dealer, he screwed. I don't know. There's a drug dispute, and drug dealers, I guess they don't take kindly for being screwed. So his other homosexual, the other guy was gay too, that killed him, tied him to a fence and beat him to death. But as usual, they blamed it on straight white man. And, oh, isn't this just a horrible thing? There's many such hoaxes in history. I'm not going to say them all. I don't want to get in trouble, but there's many such hoaxes, like Jussie Smollett, right? There's hoax after hoax after hoax. They go way back. These hoaxes go way back. And so that was an example of the hoax. All right, let's look at the economy a bit. I don't think the economy is doing very well. And I like Trump, but we do have some issues with the economy. And I do like Marjorie Taylor Greene in that she will actually speak out and just say it like it is. And I kind of admire that. I try to have that quality. I like Trump, don't get me wrong, but I'm not going to rah everything he does. And here's Marjorie Taylor Greene on CNN.
Costs have not come down. I myself can tell you my apartment here in Washington, D.C., the electricity bill is $100 more than it was last year, because you can look at your own bill and look at costs.
Yeah, mine has too. I don't know about you guys, but I have my Ozark bill that I have an app, and I can look at my monthly bill from like a year ago, and the bills just keep going up. And so that I don't know about you guys, but it's a real thing.
Cost.
And rents, I know in the Fayetteville area, the rents have continued gone up. I don't know about your area, but they have here.
Prices have not come down. That is a reality. People's wages have not gone up. That's another reality. And so Americans are continuing to have a very difficult time.
I think so. I think we may be headed into a recession. I know Trump doesn't want to hear that, but it is potentially what is happening here. And this all, to confuse matters, Trump is getting into this whole fight with China. And I'm not blaming Trump 100% on this, but Trump is threatening to put 100% tariff on. And I don't know if he ever backed off of the tariff, because then he came back, and I'll show you. He said, oh, President Xi just had a bad day. But what China is doing, I don't think they're backing off, is they're putting restrictions on some of their materials they send out of China. And we do that to China. And China said, well, we can do that to you. And the trouble is China has a lot of rare earth minerals. And more importantly, just not the rare earth minerals, they do the processing of these rare earth minerals that are necessary for a lot of high-tech stuff, especially like in military applications, missiles, that type of things, the advanced fighters, Patriot missiles. And we used to do this in America. We had rare earths, I think in Arizona, Montana, Nevada, and we processed them here. But we shut that all down because of globalism. We're like, oh, we could just offshore this to China. They could do it cheaper. So we shut that whole industry down. And it's not like we can just build that industry back up again by snapping our fingers. So if China cuts us off of these rare earth minerals and refining them, this limits what we can do with our military. And we gotta always fight wars for God's all stars, maybe against Iran, and who knows, maybe we'll have to fight. Trump is still mad, wants to escalate the Ukrainian war, but we can't do that if China has a lock on these materials. Now, we should have never offshored this in the first place, but we did that, and that could be an issue. So when Trump came out with that 100% tariffs, the markets really dived, especially crypto, because again, we import so many things from China. We should have never been in that position. And if people listened to Ross Perot, if they listened to Pat Buchanan, we would have protected our industries. But instead, we had a bunch of globalists that said it would be a good idea, like Ben Shapiro types, let's send it to China because we could save some money. We could fire the American workers, and then we could get our crap from China cheaper. And that caused a lot of problems with a lot of jobs and destroyed a lot of cities, but it's also put us in a national security risk now. And so the whole idea of globalism or so-called free trade, it was a lie. We can tell it has failed. And the libertarians, sorry, libertarians, you were wrong on this. I mean, we just could see it. It was wrong. And Trump he kind of boosts the markets a little bit by saying, don't worry about China. It will all be fine. Highly respected President Xi just had a bad moment. He doesn't want a depression for his country, and neither do I. So there's hope that maybe China is going to back off. I don't know if China is going to back off. It's more likely Trump will back off. Trump does a lot of empty threats. Remember, he was planning to put 100% tariffs, bone-crushing tariffs on India and China unless they stop buying Russian oil. Remember that? That was like a big thing. I'm serious. We're going to do it. And then he changed his mind. We're not going to do that after all. So that's how Trump is. Trump talks big, but he usually doesn't follow up. And there's an acronym that there's called TACO. Trump always chickens out. And I think Trump will chicken out, take off the tariffs. But I think China is pretty serious about it. And we have some big problems. I mean, the long term, we need to get industry back to the United States, and we need to bring it over from China and India. It was crazy to outsource this all, especially to a potential enemy. But this is what we have done. And so the economy, I think, has a little bit of issues, and this is where we are right now. Okay, let's just take a look at some of this kind of what I call the Civil War stuff and how things are really changing quite a bit. And Tucker Carlson, he doesn't really care anymore. He's just saying what he believes, and I do admire him. And let's take he's sounding like Ramsey Paul. It's funny how all these people are now sounding like Ramsey Paul. But here we go. Let's listen to Tucker.
Over the next few years, the United States, two things to keep in mind. The United States is moving, not inexorably, but still moving toward civil war.
I agree. Like the Spanish Civil War, I would say. So be sure to watch that video I did the other night. Or if you don't, even just research it. There's the mainstream, they support the communists, but it was really the nationalists and the Christians that saved Spain in the 30s.
Number one. And number two, civil wars are the very worst kind of wars, worse than any kind of war fought against a foreign adversary. So to number one, why is America moving towards civil war? For the same reason all countries that wind up in civil war get there, because the differences between their population, between people within their borders, becomes too great to bear.
And this happened in Spain in the 30s. Someone quit back then. It was a fight between Marx and Christ, and they had the woke element. They didn't call it woke back then, but they had the communists that were killing nuns and burning churches, digging up actually the graves of nuns, dragging the mummified body, really sick stuff. You can't reconcile with those people. You just got to defeat them or they're going to defeat you. We're in a similar situation in the United States.
People decide I have nothing in common with the people who live near me, and I don't want to live near them anymore. In other words, diversity, difference, is actually intolerable to most people. Not necessarily racial diversity, though sometimes that too, but diversity of all kinds.
Yeah, Yugoslavia, there wasn't that much racial diversity, but their religious diversity and language created a lot of issues.
It is not our strength. In fact, it is without question our weakness, and
I used to sounding like Ramsey Paul. Everyone sounds like Ramsey Paul after a while.
has always been.
I was saying this for years, and it's like a lone voice.
If you have nothing in common with your wife, do you have a stronger marriage? No, of course your marriage falls apart. And the same is true for countries. And the truth about the United States is that on every level, beginning with a demographic level, the American population has less in common with itself, with one another, than ever before. When I was born, which wasn't that long ago, it was the modern era. It was air travel and air conditioning, electricity. When I was born, the United States was about 90% white Christian. It's now less than 40% white Christian. Now, you may think that's a good thing or a bad thing, but it's a massive change, an unprecedented change, really, in a very short period of time. And
it wasn't by accident. It was done by design.
Of course, it's not accidental or organic.
I didn't watch it. See, he says the same thing as I do.
That was the result of policies put in place to achieve that result, and they did. There are people who didn't want a majority white Christian country. Okay, they got what they wanted. But what do they have? They have a country with no majority demographically at all. There is no American majority, which is to say 51% of people who have something very basic in common. And so what you have is an inherently fractured country. Languages, religions, ethnicities, backgrounds, beliefs, too innumerable to catalog. And so a country like that, unless unified by something, will split apart, particularly when that country is the size of a continent and is held together by a pretty fragile web of infrastructure, air routes and highways.
I found that amazing. Tucker, again, is getting pretty based. He's sounding a lot like I've been preaching about for years now. It was funny because it wasn't that long ago I was considered out of the circle of what you can say. And now people are just coming out and saying stuff that's just, wow. And here's some more. I'll show you some more. This is in a parliament. And this is in a member of parliament in Milan. Okay, so let's listen to this.
We are constantly hearing from you in this room how on Black Lives Matter, how Jewish lives matter, how Palestinian lives matter, and I completely agree with you. I don't have any problem when you are saying that. But I will say something what many of you will have a problem with. And I will say it loudly and openly. White lives matter.
You can't say that. The ADL's going to freak out. No, your lives, we got to eliminate you. You can't say that. Oh, that's hate. Oh, that's Hitler. So this is amazing that we have someone in parliament in Europe actually saying that. And if he said that in Britain, he'd probably be arrested. So, but still, we're making progress. This is pretty neat. All right, the other clip I wanted to show you. This happened the other day, and this is in Virginia. One of the candidates talked about how they want to kill people, Republicans, and this candidate wouldn't even condemn it. Just watch this. This is just amazing. This would be a great ad for the Republicans.
Would it take him pulling the trigger? Is that what would do it? And then you would say he needs to get out of the race? Abigail, you have nothing to say? Abigail.
See, leftists will never criticize their own. The guy that said, he wanted to murder Republicans, she looks like a witch, by the way, but she won't say anything to condemn them. They don't.
Yeah. What if he said it about your three children? Is that when you would say he should get out of the race, Abigail? You're running to be governor.
Miss Earl Sears.
I mean, we're talking about murder. We're talking about someone's life being taken from them. Have you nothing to say about that?
The black lady's right.
Are you not going to address it? Really, you can't go any further. You're a governor. You're supposed to stand up for all the people. Are you saying political murder is all right?
Yeah, with the leftists, they think it's right. They do. They don't have a sense of right and wrong like we do. they don't have a Christian basis, so they think it's fine to murder the political opponents.
Have some political courage. What you have done is you are taking.
And by the way, this happened in Spain when they had what they called the Republican government. It wasn't Republican like ours, so they were like more of our Democrats. But what would happen is the woke mobs in Spain in the 30s would actually rape nuns, kill priests, bury them alive, burn churches. And the government was like, this lady, she just looked the other way. They wouldn't comment on it.
Political calculations about your future as governor. Well, as governor, you have to make hard choices, and that means telling Jay Jones to leave the race.
Yeah, James Jones is the guy that said that. So yeah, that black lady, I'll give her that. She was talking from the heart. I mean, it wasn't a script, so good for her. That was awkward seeing that, but that was pretty crazy. That was pretty crazy. So guys, thank you so much for watching, and I will talk to you guys later. Bye-bye.